Alright, so how you all doing, ladies and gentlemen? So I don't know what I'm gonna call this video yet, but it's gonna be the good and bad, or more like why Kovac will stay slash why he should stay next year, or and why he should leave slash why he will leave. You know what? Actually, let me split that up. So this video, yeah, I know we're changing it up on the fly. This video is gonna be why Kovac will stay next year. So why he will slash should stay next year, and then I'll make a separate video for, I don't know, the day after this video comes out. I'll call it why he should leave slash will leave. But let's start. Let me just list a few things, reasons. First of all, here's why he will stay. Other than this, I don't know when it was. I think it was like a month or maybe 2 months ago. It wasn't that long ago. But it was like a month or 2 months ago, so not that long ago. He came out and he said something along the lines. I'm not quoting him exactly, but he said something along the lines of, regarding James. If the coach plays him, if the coach wants him, we'll buy him. If the coach doesn't want him, we're not gonna spend money on a player that the coach doesn't want. Now, to me, that just means, okay, Niko Kovac is going to be here next year. He's going to be the coach next year, and otherwise, we wouldn't listen to his words. If he wasn't here next season, there's no point listening to what he has to say. Now, let me just actually talk about my personal feelings on Kovac. I like him. I definitely feel like we could be playing much better. I'll be honest here. There are definitely better alternatives, but I'm not against giving him time, if that makes sense. That's one of the things. I'm not really against giving him time, but there has to be improvements. And I thought at the beginning of the season, at the beginning of the second half of the season, so after the winter break, I thought we looked sort of decent, and lately it's all been going downhill. So for me, he has to show this season a lot more. Now here's why he should stay until next year, right? So I'm basically indifferent on him, in all honesty. If he leaves, okay. If he stays, okay. That's basically me right now. I want a team to play well. If he's the man in charge for them, fine. If he's not, then that's also fine. But yeah, here's why he should stay. He loves playing a 3-4-3. And this season we've not had the defensive coverage to really play a 3-4-3. Next season we will. Based on our purchases next season, it looks like we will. We have a lot more centre backs, a lot more coverage, so a 3-4-3 isn't really out of the question. And he enjoys playing a 3-4-3. And we should give him, if that's what he's going for. It seems like that might be what he's going for. If that's what he's going for, just based on our purchases, of course, but if that's what he's going for next season, then we should allow him that season to really implement what he wants to implement his vision and his style. And then we can always still judge whether it works or not. But right now we don't have the coverage to play what he wants. Let's see next season when we have the coverage and whatnot, how it's gonna be. I think that's key. If you don't have the personnel to play your desired system, then it's not really your ideas that you're implementing. You're just making do with what you've got in a way. So that's certainly one thing, like a reason why he should stay. Here's another one. He's a very young coach. I mean, he's not terribly young. It's not like he's, I don't know, 25 or 30 or whatnot. No, he's not terribly young, but he's still a relatively young coach. He's not, he's not terribly experienced, which you could say he shouldn't be at the job. But yeah, personally, let's be as positive and optimistic as we can here. He's still terribly young, right? He's not terribly young. He's still relatively young, right? He's not, old. He's not past it. He's not like stuck on one system. He's not stuck on one way. He's still he's still, he can still adapt. He might, well, we don't know, but he might have more flexible ideas in the future that, if we cultivate them, they could be fruitful. All these kind of things. He's still growing with the role, and no coach really comes out, swinging, doing well right from the get-go. I know this is not his first job, but the point still stands that you still learn through failures, you still learn through experience, and let's let him learn, and maybe like one day he's gonna become the best ever, that kind of thing. So that's certainly one thing that you want to keep in mind, of course. Here's another thing, right? Here's another thing. The players, for the most part, I can't say all, but for the most part, I like him. And there's of course a few disgruntled players, but there's always going to be a few disgruntled players with each coach. And if you don't play, you're going to be disgruntled. That's just the way it is. The point is that there's not been any, I don't know if we're going to call it like a backstabbing in a way. Early on there was. Yeah, early on it felt like, the club is falling apart from the inside out. But it's been relatively quiet lately. Like absolutely quiet. It seemed like that was just early on when certain players weren't playing. They went to the media and just talked trash about him. And now everything is just silent. And I like that. I like having quiet. I like having peace and calm. So if we had other coaches, for example, one rumored name has been Mourinho. With Mourinho, it's always a hit and miss. Like on one hand, it's gonna work. On one hand, the players will love him and go through fire for him. On the other hand, the players will hate him and will want to burn him. So he's either a hit or miss. And with Kovac right now, at least right now in present moment, while some players are obviously unhappy with not playing enough, or rotation, I feel like it's not terribly tumultuous right now. All right, that's the way I see it, and I like peace and quiet because that will just mean that we focus on football instead of like personal problems or anything of that sort. Now here's one more point. To me that kind of goes back to what I said earlier about him being relatively young, and that is that he unfortunately, I say unfortunately, that he unfortunately changed his approach based on the media. Now, this is a good and a bad thing, but I'll tell you why it's a good thing, right? Why he should stay. Because earlier in the season, he rotated like we rotated almost like scored almost every single match there. Like it almost seemed like we were Pep Guardiola right now, where like he went like 100 games without having the same 11 consecutively. That's what it seemed like at the beginning. Like a lot of the younger players got chances, a lot of the younger players did well. Then of course we got all the media attention of certain players being unhappy. We didn't really start off with a bang as well, so we kind of dropped points here and there. And once we started dropping points, the whole media went against him, saying, he shouldn't rotate, he shouldn't rotate, he shouldn't rotate. Now he doesn't rotate at all. That's another thing, him first of all rotating a lot early on when it seemed like that was his idea, rotating a lot, and now not rotating at all, playing the same 11 week in, week out. Like, I could name you the squad for next week right now, and it'd be the same squad that played this week. So it is. The reason why I think it's a good thing is because it shows you that he wants to improve, right? He wants to not just live up to the media, but live up to the fans' expectations. And if that means that he has to change and adapt his ideals, then he'll do that. Now, of course, I would prefer if he was convicted of his ideals to the degree where it doesn't matter what anyone says, that he would stick to it. That's personally what I would think. I think the coach needs to have a bigger, not personality, but a bigger, I guess the word personality fits, a bigger personality where the media will criticize him because the games are going quite poor and whatnot, but he'll still stick to it. I'd much rather have a manager that sticks to his ideals, of course tweaks it. I'm not saying just play the same or do the same thing over and over again, but tweak it and adjust it. There was no need to I personally, I didn't mind rotating that heavily. I thought our squad should be good enough for, where we rotate week in, week out without a significant loss in quality. That wasn't the case. But, personally, I feel like he should have found a middle ground. Like a middle ground where, players have the opportunity to play. But you don't rotate maybe the whole squad every single week. You look, for example, take someone like Renato Sanchez, right? He's maybe not the best example, but he's a great example. Early on in the season, from the summer until the winter break, he played a bunch. He played a lot. He looked very good. He had a lot of good games. He had a lot of very good starts as well. He had some tremendous games where he looked like a very solid player. Since the winter break, or since November, November, he hasn't had a single start, for example, and he's barely featured maybe last 5 or 10 minutes. So the worrying part to me with that is, I will get to that like in the second video, where it's gonna be like why he should leave, or why he will leave, if you want to call it that. I'm not sure about the names. I just want to talk really. But the worrying thing about that is like obviously that youth might leave, and that's a big worry to me. But to me, I like seeing that he's able to adapt. No, he's able to change his own beliefs, right? Again, you could say maybe he should have more conviction in his own beliefs, but I think I personally feel like you need to find a middle ground. But it's good to see that at least he isn't above himself to say, you know what, F all those people, F what they're saying, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. And that would have been fine as well, if he did that. But him wanting to live up to what people expect, that's a good sign in my opinion. That's a good sign in my opinion, But yeah, regardless, that's just my thoughts on why Kovac will, or why Kovac should stay / will stay. I don't think, as I said, I don't think he's gonna leave at all. I think I don't think he's gonna be sacked. I think what's gonna happen is that next season we're gonna do something like we did very similar with Ancelotti. We'll give him, I don't know, 3-4 months next season, see if it improves. If it doesn't, then we might look for alternatives. But I don't think it's going to be the case where we're going to sack him this season. I really don't see that being the case. I would be shocked and surprised. Like, the only way I can see that happening is like next week if we play against Dortmund and we lose like 10-0. Like, that's the only time I can actually see that being the case. Regardless though, folks, I will see you all next time, everybody. Until then, have a nice day and peace out.